Welcome back. It's JP from Max Tr3 Revival, and continuing on with part 2 in my series of trying to fix the suspension and rear axle. So just a little backstory on how I got to this point. Spoke with somebody on British Car Forum, and they had a tool that would help to separate the axle half shafts from the hub assembly, which takes quite a bit of pressure. Not having done this before, I reached out and said, tell me a little bit more about this tool. And looking online, noticed that they were pretty close by. So a couple conversations and found out that it was okay to borrow the tool, and the person said they'd even bring it by. They were running out this way to do some errands, and I said, that'd be great. So went ahead and made that connection, and hopefully I'll add in a couple pictures here that show that process. So the other part of this story is the way that tool works is it actually threads on to this part of the hub. And when I first tried it, it wouldn't work, wouldn't screw on here. I don't know if you can tell, but it looks like somebody had pounded on it with a hammer, and the threads were completely messed up. So used my tools that I have. I have a couple of triangular files for getting threads cut back in. Spent the better part of probably a day and a half hand filing to get that tool to fit on here so it could take it back apart. Took a while, but finally did work, and I'll show you pictures of what it looked like prior and what I was able to do using the triangle files in order to get the grooves cut back in. A little bit more on the axle half shafts. This is what it looked like when we were getting ready to try and separate it. The tool that my buddy Dave lent me and made from McMaster car bolts and whatnot actually screws on right here to give the pressure needed to separate out the hub assembly from the axle half shaft. And it's on there with a key, cotter pin key. That's what actually locks the two together. Nut that sits on the end here. But this part is the part that takes a lot of pressure to separate, and the tool screws on. A lot of shops and whatnot will use this to create the downforce needed, and they'll use a 20-ton press or whatever to try and push it out. So his tool utilizes the screw right here, and then he actually hit it with a 3-pound maul, and it went pretty smooth. I was surprised at how easy it went. So long story short, it came apart. Then we got the bearing race out here, got it all cleaned up, and then inspected the bearings. They're in really good shape, so I don't think I'm going to try and take those and take them apart. You have to press that off as well. So I'm going to clean them up, reuse them. I kept the shims that are on. I kept the shim that go behind here when it goes back into the actual axle. And the shims give you the infloat. So you have to have a certain amount of infloat, and I'm sure we're going to check that when we put it back together. That just makes sure that it's not too tight and binding, and you don't wear anything out too quickly. Well, by this time of the weekend, I was hoping to have some paint applied, but sometimes life doesn't work out that way. I spent most of my day yesterday repairing a dishwasher and getting water up from my house. So here we are, back to the cleaning process. I need to finish up on this side over here. Also, there's grease nipples that are on the edge here that I want to remove. And if you have a good method in order to get those cleaned up, please let me know in your comments. Gonna try and take a little video of the cleaning, and we'll attempt that now. Well, getting a little closer. I think won't be too much longer. We'll hit this with some rust conversion, and then metal prep, and then primer. Looking much better. It had, 50 some years of dirt and debris and everything you could possibly imagine on it. Hey, thanks again for following along. Hope to have more content uploaded shortly. Hit that like and subscribe button. Leave me a comment if you have anything you'd like to tell me. Just appreciate you guys being along for the ride. Talk to you shortly.